On this episode of The Open Road, we're blazing trails. So a lot of the questions you guys had for us about this vehicle is how family friendly is it, given that that's what these vehicles are marketed towards anyway. So let's take a look before we go for a drive and see what it's got to offer. So the interior is a nice place to be. It's very comfortable, nice leather seats, comfortable seats. One thing I noticed very quickly as soon as I got in is that it felt very American, and to me that's a bonus. I like American cars, and it turns out that this vehicle is sold exactly the same as it is here over back in the States under Chevrolet, which is pretty cool. Nice big chunky buttons, nice big chunky steering wheel, nice big chunky gear knob. It just feels very me and very rugged, and that also translates over to the driving, but we'll get to that shortly. Let's check out the back. Inside the back we've got nice spacious seating. This fits me and I'm 6'2", as most of you that watch this show know. These seats will fold all the way up, and we did do some testing with this. I got my bike in the back, piece of cake. Do we have cup holders? Yes, more cup holders, good. And my GoPro, ignore that. Not bad for a back seat. Not if you're kids on a long ride, you're going to be fine. And it's even got ISOFIX, which is, you know, industry standard. Let's have a look in the back. Lots of space in the back. 12-volt outlet. More cup holders for these seats. These seats are pretty small, really only ideal for children. Oh, okay, so we've got a cargo tray cover. Nice. A few tie downs and whatnot. Not bad. Little bits like this and what make the difference, because you can use an air pump or whatever you're doing if you're out fishing or whatnot. Yeah, and all of these seats go really flat, and you can even get a double mattress in that. Actually, we should have done that. We should have gone on a road trip. But being a modern family SUV, is it going to take you on the weekend camping trip? Well, let's find out if it'll get there. Well, yeah, this is going to get you where you want to go. The thing you got to keep in mind is underneath this body is effectively a Colorado, and we all know that the Colorado is a good truck, and I've actually got one of those coming for the next video. So we'll get more into detail on that later, but keep in mind that this is very trucky. The last vehicle that I had in this category was the Toyota Highlander, and given that they were very evenly matched on paper, they're actually very different experiences to drive. For example, the steering in the Highlander was incredibly light, and it was set up so that anyone can drive it, you know, be it your grandma or whatever, would be able to maneuver their vehicle very, very easily. This isn't quite like that. It's not necessarily challenging to drive, but you do notice that it's a big heavy truck, and I personally like that. I think that being able to have a vehicle like this behave as I'd expect it to is a good thing, because I almost feel like with the Highlander that it was so easy to drive, it's very easy to forget your size and your weight. So yeah, I think some people might see it as a detriment, but I prefer it this way. So that 80 to 110 passing maneuver, not a strong suit in the TrailBlazer. I'm not surprised that it's not a strong suit, but yeah, it's certainly in terms of the category of its class, yeah, it's not the best at that. But, you know, that's a sacrifice that you have to pay for a more truckier truck. You know, this has got a proper four-wheel drive system, and we like that. It's got proper low range. Good. Can go properly off-road, which we're going to do in a minute. There's always going to be a compromise with these kind of vehicles, and that's to be expected, and one of those compromises is its top-end performance. But given that it's an SUV, how really important is that top-end performance to you? I would understand if you wanted to go for the comfort and the top-end performance of the Highlander over this, I'd understand it. But for me, I'm quite content to have those compromises and have something that's more trucky. So I'm looking out the rearview mirror thinking this has actually got pretty good visibility all round. Unless you've got the back seats up, that takes away a little bit of the rearview mirror, the rear window rather. But no, it's yeah, very visible. Nice big wing mirrors, big rear window, lots of glass. Even the door sills are quite low, so you've got a lot of, you can see what's quite close to you, which is good if you're off-roading. Economy, very surprising. I managed to get 5.2 litres per 100k of diesel. in this vehicle driving it into the city the other day. I mean, it's all country roads like this, but I was still pretty impressed. That's not bad at all. One of the things that's interesting that's happening of late with Holden, particularly in New Zealand and Australia, is that because the Australian plant is closing, Holden, New Zealand and Australia are now looking overseas for their vehicles. And I did a little digging, and it turns out that the TrailBlazer itself is almost identical when it's sold under Chevy in the States. Now, that was very, very apparent as soon as I got in here. The font for the dash is the same as a Corvette, and I think that's pretty cool. And it's got some chrome accents, and it's got big knobbly buttons and big chunky buttons. I like that. It makes it feel more chunky, and it makes it feel more like what it is. Even down to the styling, it looks like what you would expect if you were to say a mid-size Chevy from SUV. What this means realistically is that because Holden can now take bits from their GM in the States and bits from Opel in the UK, what with the VRX series, what are they called? The Insignia. With the Insignia, that's a European car. But Holden Australia can kind of pick and choose what they want. So this car is very up to date with its things like its sat nav. It's got everything you would think to expect, and it's up to date and it works. It works really nicely. It's nice, pretty systems. But then it's also very, very cool, and it's very trucky, and it's very rugged and American. So you get the best of both worlds, and I really enjoy that, and I'm really curious to see where the future of these vehicles are going to go. Like, are we going to see a Silverado-sized vehicle come in? Maybe. Who knows? I would like that. I would love to see something contend with the Land Cruiser that Toyota's putting out. Now, when it comes to the ride with these kind of vehicles, there's always going to be a trade-off, because do you want it to be off-roadable? Do you want it to be really off-roadable? Or do you want it to behave well on the motorway? I think they've done a pretty good balance. This feels... You can find sometimes in proper off-road trucks that have been modified that they feel very, very floaty going around high-speed bends on open roads and motorways. This doesn't have that, which is actually a pretty impressive thing to be able to do. The real question is it going to perform off-road as well, which we now are, as an adventure type vehicle? Is this going to be something that you can take up 90 Mile Beach? Well, so far this seems pretty comfortable. We are losing a lot of the sensitivity for the sharp little bumps and corrugations on the road, and trust me, after a while those can get really annoying, and I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling a little bit of sway, but no, that's a little bit of drift there, but not a lot. Now, given that, as I said, this is basically a Colorado ute underneath, let's do some proper off-roading. We're now in 4 low, tracker and drive. We can do this transmission manually. There's no sport mode or anything like that, but and away we go. I do like about this that it does still feel very trucky. I've said that already, but particularly once you're getting off-road, it does feel very capable. It is very confidence inspiring. It does have a hill descent control. Gotta say, did work quite well. Was quite surprised with that one. If you put it in low and hill descent, you'll just crawl down in first or second gear. Nice and relaxed, very controlled, very impressive technology actually. Right, let's have a go at this muddy hill with street tyres. Oh, she's a bit slippy. Ah, she's got it. Lots of oh, that's the street tyres. Okay, so what are we learning? We're learning that if you want to go really off-road, you might want to upgrade the tyres, particularly if it's going to get a bit wet. But I gotta say, that was pretty impressive for a stock vehicle. So that's been the Holden TrailBlazer LTZ. And I gotta say, I'm very, very surprised. It's not a classic car that I like. It's but it's Holden, so that's pretty cool. I'm a big Holden fan. And in fact, I actually enjoyed this vehicle so much that one, I don't want to give it back, and two, we've named it Clifford because it's part of the family now. It's just a brilliant. It surprises me how different this is to other vehicles in the exact same class, like the Toyota Highlander that we drove last week. You can check the review on that on the website as a written review. But they're so similar yet so different. And I really didn't enjoy the Highlander, and this I love. It's part of the family now. But anyway, that's enough from me. We will see you on the open road next time. Thanks for watching.